Now, a French comedian has managed to short-circuit his country's professed commitment to free speech. President François Hollande, with support from both right and left, today encouraged local authorities to ban performances by Dieudonné Mbala, usually known just as Dieudonné. It's being done on grounds of public order because his alleged anti-Semitism has tested to destruction Voltaire's supposed belief that I disapprove of what you say, but that I will defend to the death your right to say it. Before we talk about the limits of free speech, Hugh Schofield reports now from Paris.
The artist called Dieudonné in one of his recent shows. This number is called the Victimization Championships, in which he plays various characters pleading the cause of races that have suffered in history. The subtext is quite clear and understood by the audience. The Jews have grabbed the suffering limelight. It's blacks and others who pay the price. It's provocations like this that have led President Hollande to act. A circular has now been sent to local authorities reminding them that they have the power to ban Dieudonné's shows on the grounds of a danger to public order.
In the face of racism, of anti-Semitism, of the threat to public order caused by base provocation, of the humiliations caused by discrimination, I ask the public authorities to be vigilant and to be inflexible.
A total overreaction, say Dieudonné's supporters, for whom this is all about free speech. If there's no disturbances at his shows, says his lawyer, and there haven't been, then what the government's doing is pure censorship. Dieudonné has been based for many years now at this small theatre in eastern Paris, now daubed with hostile graffiti. It was here that he cut his teeth, making people laugh. When Dieudonné started his career, he was actually in a double act with another comedian who was Jewish. Back then, everyone agrees that he was genuinely very funny, genuinely very clever. But over the years, the act has changed, and the Dieudonné of today is overtly political. Such humour as there is deliberate, provocative, targeted, and often, some would say, downright vicious. Over the years, there have been several convictions and fines for anti-Jewish remarks. But recently, according to Jewish leaders, the climate has turned particularly nasty. Roger Kuckerman, both of whose grandfathers died in the Holocaust, says the atmosphere reminds him of early 1930s Germany.
You know, for instance, he spoke about a journalist called Patrick Cohen. With a name like Cohen, you can be only a Jew. And he says he regrets that this guy was not there at the time of the Holocaust. Clearly, he wants to send him to the death camps, to the Holocaust. We cannot accept them. That's really too much. In the same way, he says that the Holocaust never happened. It's an invention of the Jews. So I don't need more as an anti-Semite.
For many not familiar with Dieudonné, the first introduction to his world has been via the strange arm movement known as the quenelle. The footballer Nicolas Anelka did it on the pitch in Britain. In France, it's been hugely popularised on the internet. For many who use it, it's an overtly anti-Jewish gesture. These pictures were clearly taken to offend at sensitive Jewish locations. For others, it's perhaps more innocent, a way of putting up two fingers to the system. Either way, its popularity is a sign of how Dieudonné has forged around him a strange motley alliance of different types: far-right wingers, radical Muslims, kids from the immigrant banlieue. For his biographer, André Deschaux, it's all part of the new face of the populist far-right in Europe.
The people who follow him, they're mainly young, working class, not culturally or intellectually high level, but they're people who like the way he has of taking risks, of going further and further in his provocation. They like it that he wants to take on the system. It's a way for them of dealing with their own suffering in society.
Several cities in France have now said they won't allow Dieudonné to perform, though what difference that will make is far from clear. In today's world, it's the internet that counts, and Dieudonné's weekly videos on YouTube can draw up to 2 million hits. His audience is out there, and it likes what it hears.
Well, a little earlier, I spoke to the French writer and filmmaker Alain Soral, who is a close friend of Monsieur Dieudonné, and helped him popularise the infamous Canal gesture. I began by asking him what on earth it meant.
C'est un geste anti-système, c'est-à-dire contre on va dire, le pouvoir actuel.
It's a gesture against the system, against the powers that be in France. It has only recently become, since it's a gesture that's been around for almost 10 years, only recently the most powerful Jewish organisation in France, the CRIF, decreed that it was an anti-Semitic gesture. So basically, their idea is that an anti-system gesture is an anti-Semitic one. So at the end of the day, is that simply an improper accusation? Or is there a deep link between the system of domination that Mr. Dieudonné is fighting against and the organised Jewish community? Well, that's the question.
But you don't deny that Mr. Dieudonné is an anti-Semite, do you?
Le problème maintenant, c'est que ce mot est devenu un espèce de...
The problem now is that this word has become a word used to scare people. A long time ago, Dieudonné had a partner, a young Jew called Elie Simoun, but all of these accusations started arriving the day he did a sketch on Israeli settlers. So today we have a very powerful Zionist lobby in France, which treats anyone who doesn't subscribe to its vision of the world and to its politics as anti-Semitic.
When he says he is neutral between the Nazis and the Jews, he is obviously saying he's anti-Semitic.
I
don't think you've quite understood that Dieudonné is a comedian. He performs comedy, he does sketches. So if you take one phrase in isolation from a sketch, you won't understand. You need to ask the people who have seen his entire show, which lasts an hour and a half. Then you'll see that his very diverse audience, which reflects the whole of French public opinion, has never thought that he's anti-Semitic.
Well, if that is the case, why is it that the government there takes such a strong line against him?
Because the French government, as we can see from its foreign policy and the annual CRIF dinner, is entirely under the influence of the Zionist lobby. That's why.
What do you imagine that Monsieur Dieudonné is going to do now that he is finding himself banned in so many cities?
The truth is that the measures taken by the socialist government through Manuel Valls are completely illegal in France. And since France is still under the rule of law, I'd say Dieudonné will win his appeals and his case will be supported by the facts. Because in truth, what's illegal today isn't Dieudonné, it's the measures that the socialist government and the interior minister have taken to prevent Dieudonné from performing. Dieudonné will win his battle and Manuel Valls will be proven wrong.
Thank you very much indeed.